Hey, Shalom Akim, Shalom, Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth, and salutations to the sincere Akim and Aqua and listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Okwai. I'm back in here with another quick and Lord's will is always an edifying lesson. And for today's lesson, I kind of wanted to discuss this article that I came across. And the article states the following. It says 8 states move to outlaw gas-powered cars, and the ban is coming fast. So it says several states are aiming to phase out gas cars over the next decade, putting an emphasis on electric vehicles. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm just going to read down a little bit here. So it says several states are aiming to phase out gas cars in the next few years, putting an emphasis on electric vehicles. Electric car sales have reached 17 million globally in 2024, with some of the biggest manufacturers being Tesla, BYD, and Volkswagen. I'm not sure what BYD is. Here it says, forecast for 2025 anticipates sales to exceed 20 million worldwide. Hold on, laptop is a little freezing up a little bit here. Okay, so here it says, while the electric vehicle industry is on the upward progression, with some major car makers continue to invest in gas-powered vehicles. It says GM recently announced they plan to support production one of the 6th generation of General Motors V8 engines, abandoning its original plan to pump 300 million to electric car motor production. And Tesla has experienced slower sales this year due to controversy with Elon Musk, right? So as a matter of fact, I'll read down and I'll bring in a couple precepts. So here it says, those vehicles may not be sold in California over the next decade. However, California has adopted the Advanced Clean Cars number 2 rule, which aims to eliminate all non-electric vehicle car sales by 2035. It says California is leading the charge, with other states including Delaware, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, and Washington have followed suit. According to MoneyWise, the rules don't ban the sale of used vehicles. It says only new gas-powered vehicles will no longer be for sale past that date. So essentially what's going on is there is a push forth to get and move away from gas-powered vehicles and use and utilize more utilize more electric vehicles, right, with this new quote-unquote technology, right? And the whole thing about this is that this actually, when you if you say this, if you speak about this information maybe to a natural man, right, a natural man might think this is a very, quote unquote, a good thing, right? But we already know that the earth is given to the hand of the wicked, right? So we know that Esau is extremely crafty. We understand that one of the things that he does is that he has a God complex where you can essentially utilize this new technology to be able to monitor and control the people, knowing where they go, how long they spend at certain venues, how long it takes for you to commute to work, right? So this is a very this is essentially an unrighteous decree. As a matter of fact, let me get that. This is an example of an unrighteous decree that is going to be used to be able to control the people, to be able to monitor the people, right? So this is Isaiah 10, verse 1, and it says, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and write grievousness which they have prescribed," right? So one of the tactics that Esau does is his his skill is through, his technology, his weaponry, and also these decrees that he pushes forth. What does it say in Micah? Woe unto them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. Because, if you look at the infrastructure of what these Western nations use, primarily they use is electric vehicle. I'm sorry, use gas vehicles, right? Not to say that gas vehicles are righteous. I'm not saying that, but I'm just trying to paint a picture here. The picture is that majority of the people, this is the type of technology that they use already. So it's already to push forth, these different decrees is for people to essentially be forced to abandon, what they already are accustomed to, and switch forth into something where essentially it would be a very subtle way of the people being monitored and tracked and traced, knowing where your every move is. I'm sorry. So, this is how, this devil is operating. He's coming very, very sneakily and sweetly, speaking sweetly in terms of with his lips, because it's being painted as a method of having a so-called care and virtue, and showing virtue for the environment. And we already have seen, through different instances that Esau does not care about the environment. That's a big face lie. So further on in the article, it says, according to the EPA, which is the Environmental Protection Agency, it says the average passenger emits about I'm sorry. The average passenger emits about 400 grams of CO2 per mile. It says the typical passenger emits about 4.6 megatons of CO2 per year. And it says, hold on, let me just, 1 second. It says, okay, so this is, I believe, a piece of legislation. So it says, under the Advanced Clean Cars 2 rules, the EPA estimates electric car sales would make up about 56% of all passenger vehicles by 2032. Actually, let me look this up real quick. I don't know what this is. Just give me 1 second. So this is, I guess, a piece of 1 second. Okay, so it says Clean Cars 2 rules. It says the Advanced Clean Car 2 regulations take the state's already growing zero-emission vehicle market and robust motor vehicle emission control and augments them to meet a more aggressive tailpipe emission standards and ramp up 100% of zero-emission vehicles. So, to my understanding, it seems to be like a little, like a kind of like an inspection in a sense, where your car cannot meet certain, if it passes certain emissions, then it would be deemed as unsafe to be on the road. It would be something that is going to be outlawed, so to speak, right? And people are going to be upset by that. A lot of people are going to be upset by that because that will cause a lot of sedition, because there are a lot of technocrats, a lot of these politicians and people who are in charge pushing forth these decrees to essentially punish you people. Let me get a quick script here. Just bear with me on this. Okay, this is Baruch chapter 4, verse 2. And it says, "Turn thee, O Jacob, and take hold of it." As a matter of fact, I'll start at 1. It says, "This is the book of the commandments of the Most High, and the law that endureth forever. All they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. Turn thee, O Jacob, and take hold of it, and walk in the presence of the light thereof, that thou mayest be illuminated." Right? And I'm reading this to show that, you know, our people are very, very simple and very, very caught up into a lot of the distractions of what's going on. So, for example, one of the biggest talking points that's going on these days is the whole Diddy, Cassie, what's going on with Cardi B and her new boyfriend and her ex-husband and all this drama and tralala. This is the kind of folly and nonsense that people are being distracted with. Esau is pretty much what he's doing right now is he is dangling a carrot, in front of you Israelites, right? And you thinking that and not looking past who's actually doing the dangling. You're not looking past of what's going on behind the scenes, because all of this, information with all these different celebrities is nonsense and folly. We know that there are wicked people, but Jake doesn't understand. Part of knowing who you are is knowing that you have enemies, and this is one of the ploys and the tactics that your enemy wants to use to get at you, right? He doesn't always get at you in a physical sense, but through his unrighteous decrees and wicked legislations. Esau is very, very good at that. A good example was when Bill Clinton was in office. He pushed forth, with the hand of your ex-president Joe Biden, when they were in office, and I think it was between 1991 to 93, when Bill Clinton came into office. One of the unrighteous decrees they put forth was the three strikes bill. So if you committed three strikes, you were pretty much sent to jail with very little chance of parole, right? So, and what happened after that bill was pushed forth and became law? Eventually, you had the prison population, which comprises mostly of you Israelites, into jail. So this is the way, and one of the tactics that Esau eventually he this is one of his superpowers. This is one of his tactics. If you're in a boxing match, this is one of his combinations that he uses. One of the combinations that he uses is the pen, the unrighteous decrees, these different legislations, these policies that they put forth to essentially punish you Israelites. And you Israelites need to be illuminated and understand that, number one, you have an enemy, and number two, this is the way your enemy fights. Going back into the word where it says here that thou mayest be illuminated. There's nothing wrong with being illuminated in righteousness, understanding what your enemy is doing. And this is one of the tactics and the ploys, your plot. This plot, it is one of the things that the enemy is doing, right? Because he has a God complex. Let's go to bear with me 1 second. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 2 verse 11, and it says, "Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices." And this is one of the clever devices that he wants to be able to use to essentially track, trace, monitor, and keep an eye on the people, because he has a God complex. He wants to know where everybody is. With technology, he's able to do that. With a gas-powered car, you can't do that. And Esau's such a big hypocrite too, because it seems like what's that precept where it says hold on, transform into an angel of light. 1 second, because that's one of the tactics of what he's doing also. He wants to seem like he cares about the environment, Second Corinthians 11 and 14, and it says, "And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light." I'm sorry. This is one of the ways, and a man would come after the workings of Satan. As a matter of fact, let me get that too, because a lot of Christians would think that it's a spiritual demon, Satan. What's that? Second. So a man would be doing this. Second Thess 2. Second Thessalonians 2 verse 9, and it says, "Even him who is coming after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders, and which all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they may be saved." Right, so a man would be coming in this fashion, doing these particular things on earth, and this is one of the things that he's doing, is to be able to monitor you people. Let me go back to the article here. See if there was any bit more. One of the biggest EV manufacturers is Tesla. Thought the company faced a brand crisis in 2025 as it is strongly linked to Elon Musk. It says Tesla dealerships were the subject of protests following his role at the Department of the Government Efficiency, with many experiencing vandalism. Right, so it shows that a lot of these people that are this Elon Musk and his whole situation, they're showing themselves to care about the environment through their different ecological initiatives, but that's far from the truth when you actually go into what's going on in the Congo and the actual mining process, which occurs to be able to collect the cobalt, these necessary minerals from the earth, to actually be able to make a lot of this technology that goes into these vehicles. There's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of child labor. You have a lot of exploitation of young people, right? So he's showing himself to seem like he is somebody that actually cares about the people and the environment through these different initiatives, but he doesn't give a shit, if to excuse my French, right? And that's one of the things Esau does, right? Through these different companies. Another company was Shell. If you look at what Shell did to Nigeria, because Nigeria has large reserves of oil, it left the land. I think it's the Delta region, if I'm not mistaken. The land there was left in tatters. It was left in bad shape and condition, because people can't even actually be able to use the land as it's supposed to be, because of the pollution and the contamination through these. Because Esau is somebody that doesn't, he doesn't care about the environment, but he masquerades as somebody who's all about human rights, caring about equal rights, caring about, the peace and prosperity, and caring about the environment. When you look at his resume, through the things that he's done, he doesn't have a very good track record of somebody who's actually doing so. Revelation chapter 6 verse 4, and it says, "And it went out another horse that was red, and power was given unto him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword." And Esau was blessed with the sword, going back to Genesis, the 27th chapter. That was one of the things he would do and have, and that's when he would acquire the fatness of the earth to be able to do these things. I'm sorry. So this is that Esau is that, he's that person to take peace from the earth, right? That's causing turmoil with other nations, right? And this is why people are mourning, right? The scriptures say that when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. This is a state of mourning because the state of the earth, the state of the people is withering and decaying, right? So, um, that's, as a matter of fact, I'll leave off with this last precept here. This is Psalms chapter 140, verse 1, and it says, "Deliver me, O Lord, Yahweh Bashim Shai, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischiefs in his heart. Continually as they gather together for war, they have sharpened their tongues. They have sharpened their tongues like a serpent. Adder's poison is under their lips." Right? So this is the way Esau functions. He's a violent man. So we're asking and begging the Heavenly Father to send his son to be able to, rescue us from this individual, because through these different unrighteous decrees and the things that he wants to do and bring upon the planet Earth, we need a savior from all this nonsense, right? We're kind of in that spirit, right, of that, what's her name? I think it was the unfortunate widow that was begging the judge for she kept harassing the judge. I think it's in Luke, right? So I'm begging and asking the Lord to remember us, have mercy upon us, and keep your hedge of protection over us, right? So I'll leave it there, but I sincerely pray and hope that this lesson was edifying. Salakia for my voice. But giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders, great millstone of teaching us the truth, and salutations to the sincere Akim and Aqua that may listen. Until next time, I say Shalom.